peace, simplicity, joy. These are characteristics people all over the world have yearned for millennia. To work for justice, to practice compassion, to respect all creation. This is a way of life some are called to. Nearly 900 years ago, Francis of Assisi chose to reject the many advantages he had enjoyed: wealth, good looks, charismatic personality, family status, and the popularity of his peers, in order to pursue a new, simpler way of life.
Francis, as a young man in the Middle Ages, was just as we are today. He was attracted by many things that drew interest for him: status, money, prestige. But after a while, he discovered that those things were empty, that they really did not provide the kind of satisfaction that he needed.
Not long after Francis had fully embraced this new life of unreserved devotion to God with a completely open heart, Clare of Assisi, a young woman deeply moved by Francis's preaching, was inspired to leave her own life of privilege. She would become a guiding beacon for centuries of women seeking to devote themselves to Franciscan disciplines and joys.
In the beginning, both Francis and Clare found themselves surrounded by skeptics and some with outright scorn. Why would anyone in their right mind walk away from the riches and social standing they had? And for what? To live a life of simplicity and poverty. But there was an undeniable joy that both Francis and Clare radiated in their new way of life. At first, this confused people around them, but soon it began to draw others to want to learn more.
By undertaking this radical conversion, Francis and Clare were able to let go of things they didn't need in order to focus on authenticity. This process of conversion towards poverty of spirit freed them to discover a purpose for their lives that was much richer and more deeply satisfying than anything they had known before. I first came across the Franciscan order in college, and on weekends I would go spend time at the friary. I loved the spirit of the friars and how welcoming and how peaceful they were. And I loved how they were always out in the community all the time, and I felt this kinship with them.
Even as a child, I knew that God is present among people of many different faith communities that we sometimes mistakenly draw lines between. When I began to learn about the life and spirituality of Francis, I realized that he knew this centuries ago.
Today, professed Franciscans all over the world strive to live out the values Francis committed himself to and taught. They belong to several different orders. They live within cloistered religious communities and within the larger society. They are lay people and ordained. But there are common commitments which they all share: making Christ known, simplicity of life, and respect of and care for all of God's creation.
It's important that we see the differences between our Franciscan orders as being cultural, and to also recognize this is vastly different from any theological differences. We are brothers and sisters through Christ, and in solidarity with the life and example of Francis and Clare, we need to be careful not to let our individual faith traditions eclipse that.
Francis gave up everything he had in order to follow God's Spirit. He renounced his association with his own family at great cost to his own personal comfort and security. I can't think of a better motivational example for us today: to put away our superficiality that separates us instead of uniting our recognition of this extraordinary example we have all embraced, to live out the gospel and transform the world.
We learn from Francis and Clare that God is pervasive, to be found everywhere. There is not a place on this planet where God is not. That means that if we are looking and learning, we can always find God in our own lives, in the lives of each person around us, and in the places and circumstances we inhabit every day. That vision and openness of heart is a common bound that all Franciscans share.
In 2002, a dialogue began among leaders from the secular Franciscan order, the Order of Ecumenical Franciscans, and the Third Order, the Society of St. Francis. Their goal was to foster new collaborative relationships among Franciscans of different denominational affiliations. In 2004, the Joint Committee on Franciscan Unity was formed to accomplish this.
Right from the beginning, our task was to figure out how to build bridges and to live out a common life together among ourselves. It was not easy because we think differently and look to different sources of authority within our own traditions. When we were trying to define what our principles of unity were, what was essential was Christ and how we live Christ out through our lives. Today, we are Roman Catholics, Episcopalians, Lutherans, and other members of denominations dedicated to the vision of unity and cooperation.
The Joint Committee has created a shared space for all Franciscans to come together and be fed from our common source. The relationship aspect of who we are together and the witness of that is so important at this time of polarization in so many ways, politically and religiously. The ability to sit and talk and work together, to plan together, and to pray together is crucial. Out of that deep commitment to one another, we are creating opportunities to extend the influence of Franciscan values far beyond what any of our orders are able to do individually.
Through the conversations and gatherings that we have opened up by the Joint Committee, I have seen more broadly how a lot of us live out this Franciscan spirit. We address issues that are of high priority within our communities, the nation, and the world. And we offer responses in a Franciscan light that our respective orders can engage in.
Each year, the Joint Committee sponsors a conference drawing Franciscans from all orders together to deepen relationships and dialogue around timely issues. These conferences have played an essential role in expanding awareness of the potential for life-changing work across orders for social and economic justice, peacemaking, and interfaith bridge building.
At the conferences, we give people the opportunity to take a look at who they say they are and who they have professed to be, and to continue with their conversion process. We all need to continue to grow. Francis and Claire continued growing throughout their lives. It led them into loving relationships with an ever-widening group of God's beloved people. We need to do likewise.
At one of the conferences, I noticed a woman looking very uncomfortable. She had her arms crossed and she was tense. I went up to her to break and tried to talk to her, and she said, "I know this is going to be a waste of time." I went, wow. Well, following that, as she listened to her sisters and brothers and Francis and Claire, she began to, her eyes and ears were opened, and she was smiling, and she said later, "Now I understand." That's what the Joint Committee on Franciscan Unity is about. That's why I like being part of it, and that's what we're trying to bring to others.
Many people are seeking greater meaning in their lives. They are questioning, but not necessarily finding opportunities to make a difference in their own situations. We offer an opportunity to seek our spirituality in a little deeper, to be a part of justice in society, and to offer compassion towards others.
In all of our diversity as Franciscans, we are well positioned to make a very powerful offering to the world, and that's hope. We choose to find the things we hold in common and use them to promote unity. These are the commitments that break down barriers, and the Joint Committee symbolizes this.
Each of us has received this gift of the rule of life that enables us to express a deep reverence for God and a deep love of people. No matter what order we have come through, our calling is to build a united community with one another so that the transformative charism of Francis can shine brightly without barriers. Come join us on this journey.